militia.
Why did you start wrestling, and when or how did you know you were the one to make it?
How did I get it? My mom used to say you gotta kind of screw up at every possible thing. And then you'll end up on her doorstep somewhere, the job as a wrestler. And it's sort of true. You kind of screw up everything. And
how did you know you were going to be one of the greatest? What did you know?
oh, I don't think I ever knew. I just, you know what I think I knew?
Your dad.
It may have been my dad. I think it was really just my whole life growing up watching wrestlers. I mean, I sat about as close as you are right now watching Luthez and Gene Kineski and Bruno Sammartino and every great wrestler you can think of.
Pat Patterson!
And watched them all. I didn't see Pat Patterson. But I watched a lot of great wrestlers from a very close right front row seat, maybe even closer because it was at the timekeeper table. And I had a really good idea about wrestling probably my whole life. I think I probably could have wrestled once I learned how to fall and how to protect myself and how to protect the guy I was working with. You know, I think if you watch my DVD and you watch some of my old Stampede wrestling stuff with Dynamite Kid in there, yeah. The fact is that when you watch that, if you've seen it, I don't know if you've seen it or not, so a few little clips in there, I was only wrestling 3 or 4 months when that happened. And so I think, you know, when I think sometimes about my career, you know, something like Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair or some of these other wrestlers, I'm not taking anything away from them, but you take their first 6 months in the business, you don't see that on their DVD. Because they sucked. You can take my first 6 months in wrestling, I may have been skinny and I may not have had a tan. I didn't have muscles all over the place.
Great hair, great hair.
Hey, when are you going to take on Styles, brother?
As soon as Kurt pays me enough. What's your...
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
One, for people that are aspiring to be a wrestler, what's your biggest tip to give them?
Yeah, go back to school. The most important thing about wrestling is that it's not about getting hurt. And it's certainly not about hurting the guy you're working with. When you start hurting yourself and you start hurting the guy you're working with, you're doing it wrong, and you should be, you know, find another job. You know, it's not about getting hurt. To me, anything you watch in wrestling, none of it should hurt. It shall be a great show. You know, I think, you know, it's great to see athletics and physical, you know, the physical wrestling. I mean, everyone likes their wrestling to be pretty convincing. You know, nobody likes a guy that misses a drop kick by 6 inches or something. So, you know, there's good wrestling and there's bad wrestling, just like anything else. But it's for sure it's a profession where, like, when people sometimes they don't credit wrestlers for being great athletes, for example. But the truth is that Tiger Woods can hit a little golf ball into a couple hundred yards into a little, you know, to a little hole. People were amazed by that. And it's the same thing. I remember watching Dynamite Kid dive 3/4 away across the ring and drop a headbutt on somebody.
Yeah!
And just watching and the fact that he could do it so much better than anybody else. Like even Benoit can never compare to Dynamite Kid. He was so good and he was so professional. You know, one of the most skilled. The athleticism of being able to do that or drop a knee drop off on somebody from the top turnbuckle. And same with guys like Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens. Guys that really knew how to do their wrestling. To do it so well and never hurt anybody is it's a real athletic. That's a skill that few people have. It's also a matter of inches. You're about an inch away from killing somebody or breaking somebody's neck, or you can give wrestling fans a great match. You know, they kind of go hand in hand.
Right.
The little guy in the front.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
My favorite is Kurt Hennig and my brother Owen were probably 2 of my favorites.
Yeah!
him. I loved working with him. He was a guy that made working fun. Even Steve Austin. Steve Austin and I had great matches together. And another guy, even giving him his credit, would be Shawn Michaels. Actually had some really good matches with him. But I had a lot of great matches with a lot of different guys. You know, I know that I've had so many wrestlers over the years tell me that the best match they ever had was with me. And that, you know, that's a personal thing between wrestlers. But I know that that's the supreme compliment that you can get from a wrestler, like Steve Austin, for example. He told me the only match he ever watches back is WrestleMania 13. I'm proud of what I did as a professional and how, you know, my big boast about being the best there is, the best there was, and all that is.
The immortal!
Well, the truth is that my biggest claim to fame is the fact that I never hurt anybody in 23 years. Easier said than done, trust me.
Bret, I followed your career from the Calgary Stampede with the Dynamite Kid, all the way through your stops in the state of Montana, over into Idaho. One of my biggest things that I'm proud to say that watching you, you are a complete professional in everything you did. And the way that you got homered on the WWE was bullshit.
Wow. Oh, water under the bridge now. You know, I always try my hardest, and I appreciate when someone recognizes, you know, that for me, I was one of those kind of wrestlers that I didn't care if there was 82,000 people or 150. You know, there might have been 150 people on an Indian reservation or something. I always gave the same match, always worked my hardest. It was, to me, it was always important, even if there's just one fan that showed up for me anyway. It was important for me to give him a good match. And I think I don't think I disappointed too many people over the years.
Amen.
Just gets a little dry up here. Wants to drink water.
Right.
Way in the back, a pretty good lady.
Non-resident question. Boxers or Braves?
Well, it depends. She better wear briefs. Go ahead.
What was the heat behind you in Bad News Alley?
There was no real heat. We just had different viewpoints on how to have a match. But we always had a lot, I think, respect for each other. And Bad News was not the easiest guy to wrestle. But I always wrestled him. And wrestled him well.